Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. Kelly, my girl, is joining us to pick 5 against the spread contest picks for the NFL. We are in week 10. Time is flying by, but honestly, it's not fast enough. I am ready for a new season. Kelly, are you? My gosh.
Personally, I'm 14-5-1 in the last 4 weeks. And it's not good enough to even win a quarterly prize in either contest. But I finally had started to turn around. That was until the one lone loser I had last week in the Seattle Seahawks. That was my best bet. So I'm frustrated as well. Do I want it to be a new season? No, again, I'm not complaining about going 14-5-1 in the contest the last 4 weeks, but it's just kind of frustrating. The games that I don't love are doing so much better than the games that I do. And I'm not betting all of these, as we've discussed so many times on the show. The NFL is just so tough. So we'll see. 3-4 in college football and NFL last week in the games that I played. So something's got to give. Hopefully in the VSiN contest, I can turn it around because I'm currently sitting in third place after having a couple 6-1 weeks. So I need another 6-1 week, which includes the NFL.
Well, if anybody can do it, it's you. This is not a great week for the NFL. Typically, I'm like, I love this week, and I hate this week. There's not a lot of things to like. I really don't purposely look for underdogs, but I was actively trying to look for a favorite, and there's not really any favorite that I like that screams out to me. I know you and I are opposite on one of them potentially, so we'll get into it. But just a reminder of what it is we are doing. It is 5 against the spread contest picks in the NFL each week. These lines are released on Wednesday, and they do not change. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet. Automatically in is my best bet. And then we come up with the rest of the card. However, this week, we both share a best bet. Kelly, my girl, what's your best bet?
Yeah, it's gross. It's the Denver Broncos. And it's not really a play on the Broncos. Let's be honest here. I don't want to back the Broncos, but they are coming off their bye. And what did we see before their bye, right? They somehow got a win over the Packers, but that was more of a Packers choke job. And then they beat a sick Patrick Mahomes, right? But something to look at here. You've got Russell Wilson, 66% of his passes are completions, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Look, this team just dink and dunks down the field. There's nothing exciting about that, but that's exactly what I think they're going to do against this Buffalo team that is really hurt, right? The Bills right now, if the playoffs started today, they'd be on the outside looking in. So some people think that's a play-on spot, but 2 and 3 in their last 5 games is not a team that I want to back laying 7.5 in Monday Night Football. 5 of those games, all within a 6-point margin, right? And again, the injuries have been starting to rack up. This is not some great defensive Denver team, right? They are just bottom of the barrel. It's not fun. Maybe Josh Allen can have his way with this team, but I just don't see it. I have not been that impressed with him. And their running game is just okay. I don't love this Buffalo team by any means. I think this could easily be, Pam, just a really gross 24-17 final, 21-17, 21-14, where the Broncos cover this game by the hook. And honestly, I think that the Bills are a great teaser spot this week, a lower total, and I'm hoping to middle this one.
The best bet for me will also be the Broncos. I faded the Bills last week and back in the Bengals. It worked out. I'm going back to the well with that. And I backed the Broncos a couple weeks ago against the Chiefs. So I'm going back to well in a double whammy. You've mentioned a lot of the points here. The only thing that I would not do is tease the Bills because I actually think that the Broncos can win this game outright. And I like to make underdog bets as my best if I believe that they can win the game, not just cover. But it is a play on the Broncos as well. The Russell Wilson, he leads in touchdown rate. 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his last 4. What I really like about Russell Wilson is he has really good ball protection against the Jets defense. We know how stout a Jets defense is, and playing KC twice. He has done well against tougher opponents. Now his YPA is going to be a little bit down, but that's expected when you're going up against tougher competition. So it makes sense. So he's not getting the deep downfield yardage, but he is still good with his touchdown rate and good with his ball protection. I will take that because the Buffalo defense, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions to Baker Mayfield and Mac Jones. I am putting Russell Wilson above both of those quarterbacks. And Josh Allen right now, he has an interception in 5 straight games. He was injured with that throwing shoulder last week, which is a play against him. Denver defense has forced 4 interceptions in their last 3. Again, against better competitions in Patrick Mahomes. There was an interesting nugget as well that I found that correlates with, and it's that the Broncos are 7-1 against the spread in the game after playing the Chiefs since 2019. I'm not really much of a trend person, like at all or ever, but I saw that and I was like, oh, perfect. I'll go ahead and add that to the mix. But both of us are on the Broncos as plus 7.5 against the Bills. I never really do money lines, but I am taking the Broncos money line in this spot. So the rest of the card.
I might have some guts to do that
What do
kind
we
of.
do?
Yeah, I mean, come Monday, I might have the guts. We'll see how the rest of the teasers pan out. I've only got Buffalo in 3 legs as of right now. Yeah, this could be a Broncos money line play. We'll see if I end up getting to the window. I don't trust this team on the road to actually be able to get a game winner on the road. But this is also a Buffalo team, Pam, that every time after a loss, they play a really close game. We saw it on that Thursday night game with the Bucks. We saw it on that should have been Giants winner for Survivor that didn't come to fruition. So we'll see how Monday Night Football comes for them in a bounce back spot. But yeah, you and I don't probably agree on much this week. There's a couple of road favorites that I like, which is just disgusting. That's not in my repertoire. I do several other shows with other guys that I respect. And I even texted them. I said, hey, what's your best bet this week? And they're like, if you're going to make me pick a best bet. So that's where I've got a couple other plays. I had a very short list this week. Just so you know, my short list just between us was Ravens, Broncos, Raiders. Those are the only 3 teams that fit any semblance of a criteria for me to make a wager. Probably only team I will get to the window with this week is the Broncos and probably whatever John Murray's best bet is from Nesson with Sammy P because he's just
9-0.
How can you? And that's why last week I hammered that game. When you like the Bengals as your best bet and he gave out the Bengals, I was like, all right, well, here we go. Like if both of you like it, better than the freaking Seahawks, that's for sure.
Well, maybe then Murray will like the Raiders. You like the Raiders. I like the Raiders. Maybe he'll make it a 3-7. Add on that. What's your? You have a very short list, so tell me why you like the Raiders. I think by default we're plugging this in, but let's just go talk about why.
Yeah, I don't really like the Raiders, but if you saw my tweet the other night, Pam, I was really kicking myself because I watched this Raiders like kind of off in the distance, right? Like I was watching the Seattle game and then obviously we had the standalone game with the Bengals and I'm like, how did I not have the Raiders? Fading teams after they fire their coach is like almost an auto play with me, right? And maybe the Giants are that bad, but this team looked like they had life, right? Max Crosby got really excited. I mean, this defense is almost rejuvenated. Is Aiden O'Connell a great quarterback? No, but he played basically mistake-free football, which is all you can ask for in a backup quarterback, right? And you've got to kind of think this defense behind Max Crosby is putting pressure on quarterbacks. And who better to put pressure on than good old Zach Wilson? I know everybody wants to lay the points here with the Jets on the road because of this defense. And yes, this Jets defense is great, but this Jets offense is so bad. It is just pathetic. Is Breece Hall 100%? That was one thing that I had noted. But I do think we'll see. We'll see if this one comes to fruition. I tease the Raiders in every single possible way. I do think this is a field goal type game. I could see it being literally 14-13 final. Either team wins. This looks like it could just be a perfect time to take an afternoon nap.
This is a great game to go back to the well with Zach Wilson unders, and you mentioned some of the points. Defensive end Max Crosby against Zach Wilson. That is it. That is the matchup. I don't care what the Raiders are doing offensively. I don't care who's banged up. I don't care who the quarterback is. This is Max Crosby, all tatted up, yelled. He looks very scary, human being, against Zach Wilson, who's a cute little old man on the other side. He is going to get wrecked. Tied for the second most sacks in the league with TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. Now going up against Zach Wilson, who's the second most sacked quarterback in the league and the second most sack yards allowed. Not only is he going to get sacked, but he's going to push this offense so far back that now you're going to give yourself an even worse shot at getting downfield. Wilson hasn't thrown a touchdown in 4 games this year. In 4 games, not in 4, like he has only 5 total touchdowns this season. Now you're going to be spending your entire time on your back. We just saw it last week. And all of this really is the question of like, does it matter? This is Wilson's first career game in Pacific Standard Time. I don't know if that is any relevance to anything, but potentially the furthest west that he has gone is Denver, so that could be another play against for the Jets. But Wilson in 3 night games that he's previously had, 27-6 loss to the Chargers, 23-20 loss to KC, which was this year, and then it was at home that defense definitely stepped up, and 19-3 loss to the Jags is 2.5 point favorites last season. It really is that simple for me. Simple, basic math. Max Crosby, Zach Wilson, perfect. Give me the Raiders +1. Plug that in.
I think we do at this point, just because, again, we don't have a whole lot at this juncture. I know that you're not going to like my San Francisco -3 play, which is fair. I understand. San Francisco has not looked great.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that
Okay.
let's talk about it because I have in my notes I put, is this a buy low spot on San Francisco, or do we keep riding the Jags? So let me hear your reasoning for backing the Niners then.
So anytime a team looks really good going into a bye week, and anytime a team looks really bad going into a bye week, it's kind of like like your little spidey senses go off, right? And that's kind of what I was thinking here is San Francisco, right? They kind of needed that bye week really bad. And Jacksonville, on the other hand, did not need that bye week. They were rocking and rolling. And sometimes that can kind of derail everything that they were really trying to accomplish. They won 5 in a row. The Niners had just lost 3 straight. I think this is a buy low spot on San Francisco. Now they've got defensive end Chase Young. We'll see if him and Nick Bosa can't be reunited. And I heard that Deebo Samuel had practiced, but he was still a question mark for this weekend. Look, I think the Jags look like a solid team. Absolutely. But I kind of have to wonder is if that bye week didn't kind of come at a very bad time for this team. We'll see. But that's really just a small narrative play for me, if we're being honest.
Well, I do have the Jags +3 against the Niners, and you're raising concerns about the bye week, and those are all very valid. And that's really, I didn't really even consider the bye as a play on or play against. I'm just looking at the San Francisco offense has turned the ball over at the second highest rate in the league in the last 3 games. Previously, they were giving away the second fewest. And now you're facing against the Jags defense that has come to life. They have a takeaway at the highest rate in the league right now. So that alone is a big mismatch. And then, yes, Trevor Lawrence, like he is a very good quarterback. That's my quarterback. 70% completion in his last 4 games since playing the Buffalo Bills. And we've seen that the San Fran defense gashed in back-to-back weeks. They gave up nearly 400 yards to Kirk Cousins and 3 passing scores to Joe Burrow. I am like, okay, well, how does this affect the buy from both ends? Because it's too much of a question mark. Like, to me, I would want to keep riding the Jags because this is not a fluke. They have proven in multiple weeks consecutively that they can outperform themselves. And a trend that follows is they're 7-1 against the spread as an underdog in their last 8 games. So for me, I would want to keep riding the Trevor Lawrence train, keep riding the Jags until, because they are good against good teams, 9-3 against the spread against teams with a winning record. So I believe like they show up, they play hard, and they have a good dynamic in that group. Trevor Lawrence is a very good quarterback. He's a great leader. So I believe that this is a train that can keep going. So then let's go ahead and keep it off if we are not in agreement. Okay, this could be hard. What do you said I did send you a text, like you asked me what my second favorite would be. The only favorite, there's only 2 favorites that I like, and it's taking the Bengals at home to the Texans as 6.5 point home favorites, or taking the Lions on the road as 3 point favorites to the Chargers. Do either of those intrigue you?
I wanted to interject because I was trying to find Ralph's chart from our show, but it was so many weeks ago. I just found it about teams after their bye week since 2015. Home underdog since 2015, 42% against the spread. Just wanted to throw that out there as well. They are slight home underdogs.
They'd be the Jags.
That would be the Jags. That was all. I was looking for that. I just wanted to interject with something there. As far as the Chargers Lions go, I do think this Chargers team got a really nice boost from the New York Jets on Monday night, made them look like a lot better. Are they a contender? I'm not sure. Let's look at who the Jags have played. Okay, so they light up the Jets. They light up the Bears. Are the Lions
That's
the
it.
real deal?
Congratulations, you
That's
beat
my
two
serious
of the
question.
most.
I have in my notes, are the Lions the real deal? And I don't know. I can tell you the Chargers 1-12 against this spread when playing a team off their bye week. That's not great. The Lions could potentially have more fans than the Chargers. We know how SoFi Stadium gets people to travel, especially from cold weather areas. Outside of that, I made this a 3-point game. I'm not sure if there's any value necessarily on either side.
I mean, I thought you were talking about are the Lions for real because of who they played. Like, I'm saying the exact same thing about the Chargers. You played
No,
two
I'm saying the same
competent.
thing about both teams. I'm not sure who is a
Got it.
contender and who is a pretender. I am not 100% sure. And that is my one caveat here. The Lions have shown
Like the
some
Chargers
really
blew
great
out the
spots this
Jets.
year. Yeah,
The Chargers blew out the Jets, but that had nothing to do with their offense. That had everything.
absolutely not.
They had 190 total yards. The only reason why the scoreline is 27-6 is because the Chargers had a defensive touchdown, and then they had on top of that two additional fumbles that gave them the great field position. They didn't have to work at all. It was Zach Wilson who literally threw up all over himself and said, "Here is the game. We're not actually here playing right now." And then previously before that, the Chargers beat up on the Bears, who were starting that quarterback Baguette. So like what? Yeah, and then previously you play two competent offenses in the Chiefs and Dallas, you lose. You play against Miami, you lose. Like yeah, you're not it. At least with the Lions,
Detroit's
what we are
just
getting
been so money against the spread. They have been so good against the spread.
because they're a good team, and they're getting back David Montgomery.
Concerns me.
That's going to be a big boost to this offense again.
Yes, I'm with you on the Lions. I can definitely be talked to. I definitely don't want any part of the Chargers. That I can tell you. Not coming from that East Coast short week. There's just too much going on. They've looked too good against crappy teams. That I'll say that much.
What was that spread that you gave about Chargers playing a team off a bye?
1-10. The last 11 games.
How do you not fade that?
You can, but Detroit's covered 15 of their last 18 games. That scares me. Like something's got to give. Like when certain things get a little too high, I could be easily talked into the Lions here. Jared Goff loves to play West Coast. We know that Jared Goff loves California games, good weather games.
Good weather games. Would you be interested? The only other favorite that I really liked was the Bengals, but I don't think you would like that one. And honestly, I'm not sure that I love that one either. Because of how great of a quarterback CJ Stroud is.
I think that the Bengals are playing incredibly great football right now, and I don't want to take that away from them. That slow start where we know that Joe Burrow was hurt, right? That's just kind of in the past. I'm really glad we still have the Bengals to use in Survivor. I wanted to use them when everybody else said, oh, you got to use them versus the Cardinals. I'm like, why would you want to use them on the road? I think November, this is the best. If you just took November, this is the best team in the NFL right now. They're probably top 3 if you take the entire year. Look, CJ Stroud, he looks great. 5 touchdowns, 470 passing yards last week. How they won that game is insane. Remember, I liked the Bucks. I didn't end up taking them in real life, but I did take them in the contest. And I am so glad they didn't kick that extra point. I would have broke my television.
Like, you don't have 5 passing touchdowns and then not cover a spread. Like, that is just bananas bonkers. Like, that's unheard of. There's got to be like a stat out there where it's like that's nearly statistically impossible to go ahead and do. I like the Bengals. I love CJ Stroud. He is a fantastic quarterback, but really this is more of a play on the Bengals because they've been my best bet for a couple weeks now. And Joe Burrow, he is getting better each and every week. He is healthy. The concern for him is no longer there. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his 4-game win streak that they have going. In that span, Joe Burrow leads in success rate, 2nd in completion percentage, 5th in EPA per play. Like, this is a very competent, complete offense right now. They've increased they're increased the use of play action, which has been absolute solid. And why this matters is and why they should continue using play action, because Houston defense against play action passes, they're 31st in completion allowed, and they're 29th in YPA allowed. This could be another high-scoring affair. And if you give me the quarterback, they're both great quarterbacks. You can't really make an argument of like Joe Burrow is like significantly better than CJ Stroud right now. But at least he can be a fade against the Texans defense, who has the second fewest touchdowns allowed. But who have you played on the other side? Desmond Ridder, Derek Carr, and Bryce
Yeah.
Young. Ridder and Carr,
Very,
they
very
both
good
threw their
point.
most yards of the season against Houston. They had their best games. Desmond Ridder, who we know is garbage, and Derek Carr. That was my best bet a couple weeks ago. Let's go ahead and take the Saints. He's going to have a great game. Well, what happened? Ridder and Carr threw their most yards, their best games of the season against the Texans defense. The wheels are starting to fall off because at least against Tampa, and could have been just one of those where it's like back and forth, momentum shift, whatever, balls to the wall. But you gave up to the Tampa Bay offense 4 touchdowns. Like, Burrow is in a whole other weight class. Like, you are moving up to the heavyweight, and you've been kind of sitting here pretty playing against these scrubs. And Cincinnati defense, at least, and I know we haven't seen it from Stroud. He is a great quarterback, and he didn't have any giveaways in college. Clearly, it's coming over into the NFL side where he's still not turning the ball over. But now this is the biggest test, the single biggest test for Stroud. If you can play a perfect game like you did last week against this Bengals defense, who has 7 forced interceptions in the last 4 games, then by all means, like, you win every freaking award. Put yourself up there with the list of Patrick Mahomes. Put yourself up there with the list of Joe Burrow, of just like the fantastic quarterbacks, because my God, if CJ Stroud can do what he did last week to this Bengals defense, I'm already impressed, but bow down. I'm not convinced that it's going to happen. This is a huge, huge step up, both offensively and defensively for the Texans. That's really like the only thing.
So I had to look for this tweet only because I read it earlier in the week. And I like some of the guys that work for sports books because they're just putting out information. They're just putting out numbers. They're not like trying to have one side or another. But John Ewing tweeted this: Joe Burrow against the spread as a favorite or 7 or more points, 2 and 6. That's 25%. All other games, 34, 14 and 1, 71%. Isn't that crazy? I think that's pretty crazy.
The spread is 6.5.
Isn't
the spread is
6.5?
6.5.
Yeah. I thought it opened 7.5. It's 6.5 now. That's really interesting. And yeah, I don't want to step in front of this Bengals freight train, so I'm with you.
I mean, earlier you said in your text, like, I don't know about this one, so I'm not trying to force it. I'm just trying to make my case of why I do like Bengals.
No, but like, like I said, I could be talked into a lot this week. I think the Broncos, the Raiders, the Lions, the Bengals, we agree on all of those. I'm not looking to take it with the Texans. I mean, trust me, I tried to make a case for the Texans earlier in the week. Bengals off that big win over the Bills. Now they played the Ravens next week. That would be really the only reason why. I mean, step in front of the Bengals right now is not ideal.
What's that one that you just mentioned, that game? The Ravens?
Yes.
Against the Browns? Yeah. Talk about it. Because I don't know what to do with the Ravens. They just keep blowing people out, and I keep underestimating them. So what am I missing?
Yeah, well, I underestimated them last week, and I definitely don't want to take them this week because they have Cincinnati on deck, and that concerns me. I said I initially looked at them. I mean, look, they trashed the Lions. They trashed the Cardinals. They trashed the Seahawks. 73 points.
What if they're just legitimately good?
They're my Super Bowl pick. I got them at 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. I should be happy. But alas, I am an idiot and bet against them last week. Look, this is kind of my thought process. Who is Deshaun Watson? I don't know. Is he any good? Kind of looked like it last week, but he also played a third string quarterback. I'm not sure what to think about them. Look, basically it's like number 1, number 2 defense here, whether it's Ravens or Cleveland, depending on how you look at it. Number 1 in total yards, number 1 in pass defense, 3rd in scoring defense. Like you could argue either way, right? Baltimore's got 35 sacks. They're giving up the fewest points at 13.8 per game. I don't know. The Browns have a couple guys that are hurt, right? Left tackle Jarek Willis is definitely out. I don't know. Browns looked really good last week. Baltimore looked even better.
The only argument that could be made is that it's very tough to beat a team twice, but is it really? Because it's Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, they're a complete team. I don't care how good your defense is. Lamar Jackson has already proven sacks don't matter and your defense don't matter. Deshaun Watson is 0-2 against the spread against Lamar Jackson. I mean, even then, like, I don't know. I'm Let's call Ariel. Can we? What's that? What's that game show of like? Can we? Can we phone a friend? Like
Phone
Ariel
a friend. I think she would probably tell us not to back her team, just a guess. The only other one that I tried, but God, they looked so bad last week. All I said was I needed Geno Smith to be average, and he looked like he. I would rather have had the kid with the baguette,
Well,
like literally.
I'm okay to I'm okay to put in the Ravens because at least this is like a huge fade against Watson. There's nothing that this offense can do that's going to cause worry into the Ravens. And at least with Watson, we've seen him play AFC North with Cleveland 5 times. He's 0-3 against the spread on the road. This is a good team. I'm not really worried about the sandwich spot because I feel like Lamar can still cover the spread and not give 110, not give the full playbook.
It's 6 in one contest and 6.5 in another, just like the Broncos are 7 in one contest and 7.5 in another. I don't hate it. I'm okay with using the Ravens unless you want to do a buy low spot on Seattle.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
Against my favorite team, the Commanders.
I'm not opposed to that. The line is 6.5 for Seattle, and the line is 6 for the Ravens.
Like the situation.
I think both are fine, honestly.
Right? You take the home favorite off an embarrassing loss on the road. You know, we kind of did that with the Lions. Remember when the Lions lost to the Ravens? It was kind of that same kind of deal. I mean, look, all of a sudden, you know, Seattle is supposed to be the best team in the NFC West because San Francisco had dropped to, 3 straight, even though I think they're now tied in first place. I got to look at the tiebreaker. But look, we'll see. The Seahawks have the Rams on deck. Are they looking past Washington? You wouldn't think so after that embarrassing loss. I'm sure it's been a rough week at practice. Oh, and by the way, the Redskins can't sack anybody. Just ask Mac Jones. So maybe Geno Smith can have a little bit of reprieve. But if you had to ask me which one I like better between Seattle,
I would go Ravens.
I hate divisional favorites. Pam.
Suck it up, girl. Suck it up. Sometimes there's just like good versus bad.
I'm calling Ariel. I think she's probably on a beach somewhere, but I'm calling her to see if she answers. Let's hope she doesn't say anything like completely obnoxious when she does answer. Let's see if she answers.
We are phoning a friend.
I don't even know if it's going to work.
Final answer.
I have to call from FaceTime audio in my. She might answer. You never know. I'm going to I have to FaceTime audio from my house. Otherwise, my phone doesn't work. In the year 2023. But at least I'm not going to get blown off the face of the earth by a hurricane. I don't know if she'll actually answer or not. I think she just posted on Twitter not that long ago. So I know she has her phone. But she may be intoxicated. As she should be on the beach. It's always happy hour. Wouldn't it be funny if I called her dad? He's the big Ravens fan. I'm like, hi, your daughter didn't answer. Would you lay 6 or 6.5, depending on the contest this week with your team?
Oh my God. All right. Let's leave the Ravens off because of what you said about who they have on deck. They did just come off a stellar defensive performance, and though I agree that they can still blow out the water because it's Deshaun Watson, that's cool. There's a trend out there that John Harbaugh, after a great defensive performance of allowing 3 points or less, they're 3-9-1 against the spread.
Even though she has my notification silence, I just did that hard nope, notify anyway. It's an emergency, Ariel. Anyway, we'll see.
Well, Lamar Jackson is 13-21 against the spread as a home favorite. We'll leave the Ravens off. There's a lot of trends.
No, we'll use
There's a lot of trends to
We're going to let her decide if she wants to use the Ravens. We're going to leave the Ravens, and I will tweet if Ariel says absolutely not, under zero circumstances should you take the Ravens this week. Because I actually trust her.
No, we're not going to leave them on.
Why?
We're not going to leave them on. Because I like your Seahawks angle better. They don't really have anybody on deck. They are coming off a terrible performance, bounce back spot, buy low on them, even as favorites. Yeah, I would rather take that than back the Ravens. It makes more sense to me.
Sweet.
Minus 6.5. Honestly, I think that's like our card.
Yeah. Seattle, Denver, Vegas, Detroit, Cincinnati.
Yeah, Broncos +7 we are sharing the best bet this week. Broncos +7.5 to the Bills, Raiders +1 to the Jets, Lions -3 to the Chargers, Bengals 6.5 to the Texans, and Seahawks 6.5 to Washington. I don't hate it. I actually really like this card. Good fade
I kind of hate
spots
it.
or teams
But it's
that
probably a good thing.
either looked
It's
really
a good
good
thing. I
last.
should hate it.
Huh?
It's a good thing. Whenever I like our
Yeah.
card, we're like 2 and 3. Whenever I hate our card, we're like 4 and 1. It's perfect.
Well, then those are it. We're gonna stick with those 5, and I'm not gonna like. I really don't like all the other games. Backup quarterbacks. I don't know. Packers confused. Titans. I don't know what to do with them. That line flipped. The Titans. The Bucks were favorites. Now the Titans are favorites.
Yeah.
Colts Patriots. I would lean to the Patriots. If that was like another option. Ugh. But yeah, it's Mac Jones. It's. I just want to continue fading bad defenses.
On the Ring doorbell this morning? Maybe that's a play. Bill Belichick sneaking out of some
Maybe
chick's house this morning. Why aren't they in Germany
got
already?
some. Put it on the card. He is a happy man.
Talk
right
about
now.
a situational play, just like when we had him when Ariel told me to take him versus the Bills because he just got paid.
And he just got
laid.
laid. So let's go.
There we go. Oh, Jill's
Tell me
gonna love
that is
watching
not a
this one back.
Now, if we're talking like the actual football, if you maybe like the Patriots more than any of the ones we discussed, it's really just a fade against bad defenses. And the Colts are a bad defense, allowing a league high 5 scoring plays per game. This is a game from Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke Elliott. The Colts are giving up the highest rate of rushing scores. Can Mac Jones and company attack this defense? Yes, because when Minshew, this is just a really bad defense. We've seen other quarterbacks who suck have their best games, including what was it? The Saints quarterback. How did I just go blank on his name? Derek Carr. And if you look at the opponents that New England has faced, nothing but solid defenses. Philadelphia, New York, the Cowboys, the Saints. The best pass rusher right now with Vegas. Even Buffalo's still up there. Miami, great offense. And you did lose to Washington, so that's kind of weird. But, other than that, Vikings was the other option. You and I are opposite of Jags, San Fran. Do you like our card as is?
Yeah, I think we leave it.
All right. Broncos plus 7.5 to the Bills. Raiders plus 1 to the Jets. Lions -3 to the Chargers. Bengals -6.5 to the Texans. Seahawks -6.5 to Washington. Do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter or X at Kelly in Vegas. Follow me on X at Pamela M35. And that's what we're rolling with. X. That's what Bill Belichick got done. Anyway, follow us on Twitter. That's another episode of